Welcome back, everybody. Chef David here from the NuWave Studio Kitchen. It's New Year's Day out here outside of Chicago, and I want to get home, so I'm going to show you a couple of real fast recipes to enjoy a very simple brunch at home for New Year's Day so you can spend some time with your loved ones. So the first thing we're going to make is a simple quiche. We're going to make it a style that I like with breakfast sausage that we make here, actually, but you're okay if you buy it at the store, or it's okay if you buy ground pork and then season it yourself with traditional breakfast sausage seasonings. We've got some simple vegetables, bell pepper, whatever color you like. I like the red and the yellow. Zucchini, yellow squash, and spinach. Sharp cheddar, farm eggs, and we're going to use a little bit of milk, salt and pepper. Very simple recipe. Now I cheated today, something I don't normally do, and I bought a store-bought pie crust, good quality brand, but we will have another video on how to actually make the pie crust and set it up. It's real fast, and so take a look on social media and our cooking club channels, and you'll see the pie crust recipe. Ordinarily, I would serve these type of vegetables in a quiche in the springtime, in a restaurant or a hotel where I worked, but because now you can get anything everywhere, and we wanted something light and simple to kind of close the door on last year and start the new year off healthy and light. So that's what we're going to do. So first thing we're going to do, I'm going to get my PIC on sear. I've got our door-long cookware, and this is real simple. The longest part of this recipe, outside of baking it in a NuWave oven, is actually browning off the sausage. So what I do is I get the sausage going, then I start prepping the vegetables. And as the sausage starts rendering out some of its fat and starts browning, I actually keep cooking it with the vegetables. Some recipes, some chefs will tell you remove the sausage, cook the vegetables, put the sausage. It's New Year's Day, I want to go home. So we're going to cook this together, and also I think the sausage and the browning of the sausage brings a little bit of flavor to the veg. All right, so let's get a little olive oil. It's a good extra virgin, not a lot. It's going to bring some flavor, a little moisture, and the sausage. Now the biggest pain that you guys will have is actually getting the sausage broken up. Now there's a trick that I show you guys on one of our other recipes. When you have to brown off sausage, especially if you're making like an Italian bolognese sauce or a sausage stew or something, or a chili, and you need to really break up the ground beef or the ground pork, use an old school potato masher and just get in there and gently break it up. It works really fine. I left mine at home today, so we don't normally have one in the kitchen. Okay, so we get that browning. And what we're going to do is I'm going to start with a white onion. And I'm just going to go right across with the vegetables. And as this browns, they'll go right in. So a quick julienne. I took the core out already. We always have a compost bin. You know that, close by. So we take care of our garden. And then just as thinly sliced as you possibly can. Be real careful. We don't want to spend New Year's Eve at the emergency room getting stitches. So, bell peppers. Onion julienne, bell peppers, a thicker julienne, so about 1/8 of an inch. The reason I do that and I don't cut them so finely, I want a little texture. So this is actually a half of a bell pepper, or you could just use a whole bell pepper of one color, but I want to switch this up. And I'll get these vegetables going, and I want to talk to you about custard. A quiche, a frittata, something very popular in Italian restaurants these days, something called a strata. And a strata is basically a baked egg dish with bread or day-old bread and some vegetables. Amazing dish. It's not as common in the States as a frittata or a quiche, but it's making headway in some of the best Italian restaurants in New York and Chicago and around the country. If you see a strata on the menu, you know you have a chef in the kitchen that really cares. So anyway, that being said, these dishes are all based on a custard. And a custard is basically eggs and milk or cream combined together and then gently baked. It's actually the base for a great dessert called a creme brulee. It's all a similar technique, except instead of making something sweet like a creme brulee today, we're actually doing a savory dish. Now, someone asked me, one of the staff earlier today was like, hey chef, could you make a frittata? Well, we already had quiche scheduled, but let me tell you the trick. This exact dish in a non-stick ceramic pan like ours, like our Dorlon, if I combined everything, let the vegetables cool off a little bit, add my custard, put the whole pan in the oven, take it out, that's a frittata. It's basically a crustless quiche, okay? So quiche is kind of on the French side, Frittata is rustic on the Italian side, okay? So look, I'm starting to get some good brown color, a little Maillard reaction going in there. Smells good. I'm gonna get some black pepper in here, but I'm not adding salt yet, and I'll tell you why. I wanna get my vegetables in here cooking and browning a little bit with the sausage. If I add too much salt now, this is gonna pull the moisture out of the vegetables, and it's gonna make them steam, and they're not gonna color. All right, so let's go with the onions. And also you can see, I'm sure I'll get an email or two on this, one of the few recipes I make doesn't have garlic. But I don't think after a long night of New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and it's pretty early here in our test kitchen, that we're interested in garlic right now. Break the onions up, let them cool. They don't have to be cut perfectly for this dish. This is rustic, and it's gonna be hearty. So we let them go. And then the other component to the dish is have some spinach. Healthy, obviously, but the trick with the spinach is I've seen other recipes where they add the spinach raw to the quiche, but the problem with that is spinach actually has a high water content. It's going to give off water, and it's going to make your quiche soggy. We don't want that, okay? And we're going to finish the dish with some chives. Onions, pork, smells amazing. Let's get our bell peppers in. And then we're going to get some zucchini. Now I'm going to cut this a little different. I don't want to, let me get this, my compost guy here. A couple things. This zucchini is pretty small, so let me cut a few bars, and I'll tell you a trick. When you look at the zucchini, the seed veins here, where the seeds are held, really small. That means there's not a lot of moisture content in it. Sometimes the vegetable's older, you open it up, and the seeds are bigger, and there's more spacing there. Sometimes I just trim those out. I use them for another dish. They go to the chickens, or they go into compost. The reason is I don't want a lot of water in my dish. So these are actually just going to be cut a little different. We're just going to dice them up. And this just gives another different texture than the big slices of bell pepper I have. So again, we take our planks, we cut our boards, and then I'll cut some really nice cubes here. I think one of those, and maybe a few more. That should be good. Yep, one for the compost. That should be enough. Now this is 10-inch pie crust that we bought at a pretty nice store, known for selling some pretty good stuff. But I am going to show you in a new video how to actually just make it. It's actually one of the easier things to do. But our producer wanted something fast for New Year's Day. I think they want to go home too. So a nice fine dice on here. And then we'll do some yellow squash. Also, the other thing that you don't see, like you may see in some of the other videos that we do, is I'm not putting a lot of strong herbs in here. You always see me cooking with rosemary, fresh thyme, a lot of sage we cook with around here. I don't want those big, powerful flavors today. I want subtle, I want gentle. I want to get this done. I want to feed my family, my loved ones, and I want to get on the couch and watch some football. So again, yellow squash, just a quick dice. This here, you can hear that sizzle, but look, more importantly, you see the color I'm starting to get on my onions? The pork has this amazing char on it already, and that's good. I want that. That's gonna make it a little heartier tasting, okay? Dice up the yellow squash, and all of these guys can get in the pool together and hang out. And when everything's in, then the last thing I do is I mix up my custard. And then we're going to talk a little more about seasoning and salt. Also, if you buy your breakfast sausage, again, we make ours, but if you buy yours, you don't know the seasoning level in it or how much salt's in it until you cook it down, evaporate some of the moisture, and taste it. If you season it now, you may bring too much salt to the dish. And then that would, you'd have to do it over, and there goes your New Year's Day. Okay, so let's get these guys in now. And you can see why I always consider this a springtime dish with these amazing vegetables, because that's what they look like. The one thing I'm definitely, they couldn't convince me to put in here today was tomato. The zucchini and the stuff from this nice grocery store nearby, all this stuff is obviously flown in. It's too cold in Chicago to grow it. But I'm not putting tomatoes in here because Tomatoes near and dear to my heart, and they're not in season. A little more black pepper. Okay, and then we're gonna do our custard. But the custard is simple. We've got 8 eggs, and this recipe is important and it will always work. Also works perfectly for a frittata. 8 eggs, these are extra large eggs. We just happen to get the nice farm fresh organic ones. To a cup of milk or 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream. Heavy cream is gonna make it richer. The milk is gonna make it a little lighter. So let's get some eggs cracked up in here. See what they're cracked up to be. No, too early? Okay. So I don't start this too early, and also I don't put salt in my eggs, even if I'm making an omelet or scrambled eggs. The salt actually breaks down the protein, and you don't get the same structure that we want. Eggshells, great for the garden. Get them in the compost. Let's get that out of the way, guys. And then we have a whisk, and it couldn't be simpler. Good cup of milk. We'll just whisk this up. It's the other reason I love the PIC, because it's mobile. And a lot of times in my house, especially when I have guests over, I'm cooking for family, I like to cook in front of them. So they're all sitting over here, and I can move this over. If I have to cook on my stovetop in my house, I have my back to them. So this is why the PIC always works out really good for me. Summertime, we actually cook outside on the deck. We bring it out, we plug it in, and I cook fish and stuff outside. Okay. So 2 more things. I want to get some chives in here. We got a lot of chives. And again, something also associated with springtime, but I like that subtle oniony flavor of a good quality chive. And these actually look really good. Get this in the compost. Check our veg. My quiche is going to be hearty. It's actually going to have more vegetable than it's going to have the custard. But you could easily take this exact recipe and divide this into 2 pie shells and make 2 quiches. You just have a little more custard than you would have egg. Okay. Now, this is beautiful. This smells amazing. It smells hearty, it smells rich. I know it's like, the other thing, look, well, first of all, Dorlan, we sell them, and you know nothing ever sticks to it. But the best thing about this is I put a little bit of olive oil in there, and I put the pork that we season ourselves. It's not a lot of fat, so look, there's almost no fat dripping around in here, and that's good. If there was a lot of grease in there, you'd have to take it out before you finished. Okay, now is the time. We're gonna turn this off. So now what I have to do, I take my cheese, and I like to put a little starter cheese on the bottom, and then I put a little in here, and I save a little bit for the top. That's just a little trick. You don't have to do it that way, but I find it works really well. So a little bit in the custard because we want the cheese to melt throughout. A little bit on the bottom kind of stabilizes it, and the top for the crust. But what I have to do now, I could add my hot vegetables right to the pie crust, but I still have to wait until they cool a bit to add my egg. Otherwise, if this at this temperature now being so hot, they'll start cooking the egg. So when we come back, I'm going to combine these, get them in the oven, and I'm going to show you one. I already have cooking in the NuWave right over there, and we'll plate up some quiche. Welcome back, everybody. Chef David here from the NuWave Studio Kitchen. New Year's Day, just outside of Chicago. Let's finish up our sausage and vegetable quiche. So I've got one finishing right now, and I'm going to assemble one and pop it in our NuWave oven. Goes in at 350 for 45 minutes, or until a cake tester comes out of the center clean. So we already made our custard. We talked about that. We made our sauté, which I added the spinach to, and I've got my pie crust. Again, this one was store-bought. It's okay, or we can make one ourselves, no problem. Little cheese on the bottom, little cheese in here. Now, if you look at the sauté and sausage that we made, it's a lot. It's enough for 2. But here's something one of the crew members said. They said, Chef, why couldn't you use the other half of that and make us a frittata, which is exactly what I'm going to do for them. But first, let's get your quiche in the oven. Little cheese on the bottom, and look, just get the veg, the sausage. Here's something my crew didn't think of. This vegetable and sausage mix right here, if I put it in a hot pan with some diced potatoes that I blanch in some water and give it a nice good hard saute with some butter, I've got an amazing breakfast hash that I can put a couple of poached eggs on top tomorrow morning. Be fantastic. But I'm going to use a little more. Maybe I won't use all of it, that's fine. Maybe we'll use it. What the heck? It's New Year's. Start this year off right, guys. Okay? Okay, so look, here's the trick now. Add the custard in stages. And I'll tell you why. You'll probably see why. What happens is if you pour it in all at once, it kind of pools on the top and floods over. We want to mix the custard all together. Now, over the years, I've had questions asked, well, why don't you just toss the vegetables in with the custard and mix it up and throw it in there? Because you never get the right ratio. We'll end up with too much veg and not enough custard, or too much custard and not enough veg. And I want this to be perfect, right? Okay. This can go down here. Now, this one's going to get pulled out. And then when we come back, we are going to make an amazing, very simple crepe dish. So we're going to have our quiche with a little beautiful Prosecco, and then we're all going to sit around and enjoy some crepes with bananas and strawberries and a very simple caramel sauce. And it's going to be the easiest New Year's ever. So this goes in, right in our NuWave Pro. Put the top on. #1 countertop oven in America, over 8 million sold. I like to brag sometimes. Cook temp, 350. Cook time, 45 minutes. Start, that's done. Now this one here is done. Keeping it warm. Wow, look at that sizzle. That's gonna be hot, isn't it, guys? Let's see if I still have my chef hands. Whoa, yes I do. This is amazing, look at that. Now what you can do is use a cake tester or a toothpick, put it in the middle, pull it out, make sure it's clean. Before you cut this, let it cool off. Matter of fact, it's best to let it completely cool off. Cut out your wedge, cut out your pie shape, and then rewarm it gently in a 200-degree oven. Or you can actually serve this at room temperature, and I know quite a few people that actually eat it cold, okay? This right here, guys, amazing New Year's Day, right here in the NuWave Studio Kitchen. This is Prosecco from Italy. Many people have champagne brunch. I kind of associate with Italian, and this is for our camera crew. Happy New Year. Have a great year, okay? We'll see you guys soon.